Since 2011, Marvel has been quietly promising something it has never fully delivered on. A power spoken of with reverence, fear, and mythic weight. From the very first Thor movie, we are told that Odin Force is the greatest power in Asgard. Not lightning, not hammers, not weapons forged in dying stars. Odin Force is described as the energy that made Odin more than a king. It made him the guardian of the 9 realms. And yet across more than a decade of storytelling, we have only heard its name. We've seen Odin fall asleep, banish Thor, enchant Mjolnir, and rewrite destiny with a whisper. But Marvel never stopped to show us what Odin Force truly is. Until now. Avengers Doomsday feels different. Not louder, not bigger, but heavier. And buried inside its second trailer is a quiet, emotional clue that suggests Marvel is finally ready to pay off that promise. Because this time, Thor isn't charging into battle. He's praying. And when a god of thunder stops relying on thunder, it usually means something far more ancient is about to awaken. Something tied to loss, legacy, and a crown Thor never wanted but may finally be forced to claim. This isn't just another power upgrade theory. This is about Thor becoming something else entirely, and what it will cost him to get there. The signs are subtle, but they are everywhere, if you know where to look and what they're pointing toward. The second trailer for Avengers Doomsday doesn't open with spectacle. It opens with vulnerability. The emotional core of the entire trailer is Thor and his adopted daughter, Love. Marvel doesn't do that accidentally. Trailers are built like arguments, and this one is telling us exactly where Thor's story is heading. There's a moment that stands out more than any explosion or battlefield tease. Thor praying to Odin, not shouting, not demanding, not joking. He's asking for peace. Asking for a chance to live quietly with love because whatever threat is coming feels inevitable. This is not the Thor we met years ago. Thor has always faced danger head on. He trusts his strength. He trusts his weapons. He trusts himself. Prayer is the last resort of someone who knows strength alone won't be enough this time. When Thor invokes Odin's name, it signals something beyond physical combat. It suggests a threat that can't be punched away. Something cosmic. Something final. Marvel frames this prayer not as nostalgia, but as preparation. Almost like Thor knows that to survive what's coming, he'll need more than the power of storms. He'll need wisdom, sacrifice, authority. The very things Odin Force represents. And that emotional shift matters. Because Marvel doesn't give Thor quiet moments like this unless they're about to take something from him. Or force him to change in a way he can't undo. This trailer isn't reminding us of Odin. It's reminding Thor. To understand why this matters, we need to talk about Dr. Doom. If Avengers Doomsday is adapting even fragments of the comic storyline it's pulling from, Doom is not just another villain. He's a strategist who targets reality itself. Doom doesn't seek domination through armies alone. He goes after cosmic forces that let him reshape existence. In the comics, this often leads him to entities like the Beyonders, Galactus, or powers capable of rewriting creation. And in the MCU, that role may belong to Love. Love isn't just Thor's daughter. She is a living conduit to eternity. That alone makes her one of the most dangerous beings in the universe. Eternity's power is creation level, wish level, reality defining. It's the kind of energy Doom would sacrifice worlds to obtain. Love represents possibility and vulnerability. A child who doesn't yet understand the scale of what she carries. If Doom wants to create something like Battle World or collapse universes into a single controlled reality, Love becomes the perfect target. Not because she's weak, but because she's innocent. And Doom exploits innocence. The theory suggests Doom will either attempt to use Love as a weapon or remove her entirely to claim Eternity's power. Either path leads to the same outcome. Thor reaches his breaking point. Not as a warrior, but as a father who has already lost everything else. Thor's journey has never been about ambition. He never wanted a throne. He never chased power for its own sake. Every title he's held was forced upon him by loss. His mother was murdered. His father faded away. Loki died in his arms. Asgard burned. His people scattered. His friends fell. Even his sense of purpose shattered. By the time love entered his life, Thor was no longer chasing glory. He was surviving grief. Love isn't just family. She is proof that something good can still exist after endless loss. That's why the threat to love isn't just another plot device. It's existential. If Doom takes her, or even threatens her, Thor doesn't just lose a battle. He loses his last reason to remain the man he is. And that's where transformation happens. Marvel often ties power awakenings to emotional collapse. Wanda, Stephen Strange, Peter Parker. Thor is no exception. The Odin Force isn't unlocked by rage alone. It's unlocked by acceptance. Acceptance of responsibility, of legacy, of pain. Odin Force is the power of a king who has suffered long enough to rule without ego. Thor has finally reached that point, when there is nothing left to protect except one life, and nothing left to lose. Thor becomes dangerous in a way he's never been before. Odin Force isn't just energy, it's authority. In Asgardian mythology, it represents the combined wisdom, magic, and life force of generations of kings. It's not passed down like a weapon. It awakens when the bearer accepts the burden of rule. Odin didn't wield it as a young conqueror. He wielded it as a tired guardian. Thor's story has mirrored that path unintentionally. Every loss stripped away arrogance. Every failure taught restraint. Every sacrifice shaped him into someone capable of holding that power. That's why the moment Doom threatens love is so critical. Thor won't call the Odin Force because he wants revenge. He'll call it because he has no other way to protect what matters. That distinction changes everything. This isn't a glow-up. It's a coronation. When Thor channels Odin Force, he isn't becoming stronger. He's becoming responsible. He's stepping into the role Odin carried alone for centuries. And Marvel knows the weight of that moment. That's why they've waited. That's why they've only referenced it until now. Because once Odin Force appears, Thor stops being a wandering god. He becomes a pillar of the universe. Someone whose decisions reshape fate itself. And that kind of power can't be introduced casually. It needs tragedy to justify it. If Avengers Doomsday follows this path, Thor's arc may become the most emotionally devastating in the entire saga. Because Odin Force doesn't come without cost. In the comics, wielding it drains the user. It shortens lifespans. It isolates. It forces impossible choices. A king cannot be everywhere. He must decide who to save and who to let fall. That's the price Thor has avoided his entire life. Responsibility without escape. Love represents the one thing that could anchor him, or be taken to push him over the edge. The tragedy is that by saving love through Odin Force, Thor may ensure he can never live the peaceful life he prayed for. He becomes what Odin was. Distant, necessary, alone. And Marvel understands irony. Thor prays for peace but receives duty instead. He asks for family but inherits a universe. That's why this theory resonates. It's not about power escalation. It's about sacrifice. Avengers Doomsday isn't just positioning Thor as a heavy hitter. It's positioning him as a tragic guardian. Someone who wins the war but loses the life he wanted. And if that's where Marvel is going, then the Odin Force reveal won't be loud. It will be quiet, heavy, final. Marvel's decision to center the trailer emotionally around Thor isn't coincidence. It's narrative signaling. Every Avengers-level event elevates one character into thematic focus. Infinity War belonged to Thanos. Endgame belonged to Tony Stark. Doomsday feels like it belongs to Thor. Not because he's the strongest, but because he has endured the most. The MCU has slowly removed every safety net from him. Humor, friends, purpose, all gone. Love was the one exception. That's why Doom targeting her makes sense structurally. It creates a conflict that can't be solved with strategy alone. It demands transformation, and transformation demands legacy. Odin Force is that legacy. When Thor stands before Doom, he won't just represent Asgard. He'll represent continuity, The old gods giving way to new guardians, the cycle continuing. And Doom, who seeks to control reality, will face someone who embodies balance rather than domination. That ideological clash is far more interesting than any punch. Power versus stewardship. Control versus sacrifice. And Thor choosing stewardship over desire completes his arc. He becomes the All-Father not because he wants to rule, but because no one else can bear the weight. That's the kind of storytelling Marvel has been quietly building toward for years. If this theory is right, Avengers Doomsday may redefine how we see Thor forever. Not as comic relief, not as a wandering warrior, but as a mythic constant. Someone who stands when universes fall apart. Someone who remembers loss so others don't have to experience it. Odin Force is the symbol of that role. A power born from wisdom, pain, and restraint. And the fact that Marvel waited until now to even hint at it suggests they're ready to treat it with the gravity it deserves. The prayer scene isn't nostalgia bait. It's foreshadowing. Thor isn't asking Odin to save him. He's asking permission to become what Odin was. And that's a terrifying request. Because once answered, there is no going back. The thunder god becomes the god who decides when thunder is necessary. So the real question isn't whether Odin Force will debut in Avengers Doomsday. The real question is what Thor will lose the moment it does, and whether saving the universe will cost him the one thing he prayed to keep.